What's going on, you guys? Welcome back to the channel. We're going to be talking about the Vancouver Canucks losing 10-0 to the Calgary Flames in their first preseason match. Yes, it hurts to even say that they lost 10-0. Like, it hurts me to even admit it. Last night, the Vancouver Canucks played their first preseason game, and they went out there with a full AHL roster. I like kind of what Tocchet's plan was with this roster. The plan was essentially just to let the young guys go out there and see what they can do. Clearly, it may have backfired, and maybe just the inexperience and the lack of skill on this team compared to the Calgary Flames three-quarter roster really wasn't ideal looking back at it hindsight. I know in the pregame video I talked about the game and I said it was a good thing. I thought it was a good thing that Rick Tocchet was putting all these young guys out there to play and just really battle and see who's going to be able to come up on top and have a better chance of making the lineup and opening night. But really all it did was honestly probably show who shouldn't be in the NHL, in my opinion, which is the craziest thing. Instead of showing who should, I think it really showed who's not ready. Also, it's really hard to gauge people based on a game like this because the Canucks got just destroyed, like 10-0 loss. Everyone's going to look bad. There was a few people who looked all right. We will get into that. But like everyone's going to look bad in a game like this. So it is really hard to gauge who's actually like ready and who isn't. Like some people just had really bad games. And maybe it was just the simple fact of just the lack of skill and it made some people worse. I don't exactly know. But I will talk about my opinion on who I thought did good and who I thought did really, really bad here. But before we get into that, as always, if you guys are new to the channel, it would mean a lot if you guys subscribed and liked the video if you enjoyed. Let's get into this. So I'm not sure if this kind of content is going to be what I do for every Canucks game. I don't think I really have the time to do pre-games and after games, but I feel like for the first preseason game here, it is really important for me to go through and talk about this because my video yesterday, I talked about how excited I was, how many players I wanted to see do well. I mentioned both Podkolzin and Hoglander. I mentioned Ratu. I mentioned Rathbone, and I mentioned Hirose, even Seelovs. I think I mentioned that I really wanted to see. And we got some good from players, but we got a lot of bad. Let's get the bad out of the way, and I'm going to start off on defense. I'm going to say I think Rathbone was kind of mid. There was a few points where he was behind the net and got bumped off the puck and completely just lost control, and then it was a turnover. So not a good night for him. I think Stillman looked terrible, which really sucks because I feel like last year Stillman had a couple moments where he actually didn't look that bad, and he actually looked somewhat serviceable. But in that game last night, he just looked horrendous. And I mean, Jet Wu just is not NHL caliber. Like, he is not even close, in my opinion. I think Jet Wu had the worst night defensively on that team. Last night, I just thought he was just god-awful, which really does suck. Rathbone was someone I was really excited about. Rathbone is just, like, he's not good defensively. He's got good passing. He's got good vision. His skating seems pretty good. But defensively, he struggles. He gets bumped off the puck quite easy. And I think that's just honestly not ideal, obviously. Offensively, we didn't see a lot from a lot of players, to be honest. Like, I don't want to name everybody because there were so many forwards that just didn't look great last night. But the most surprising person is definitely Vasily Podkolzin. I have his jersey behind me. I'm a Podkolzin fan. I really like him. I thought he was going to have a great breakout season, and he definitely still can. That's the thing I want to talk about, is a lot of Canucks fans are writing him off because of one preseason game. I know he's been in the NHL some time now. He's had his chances, and he still hasn't put it together. But I think it is still hardcore to write this guy off. He looked slow. He looked unengaged. He looked like he didn't want to be there. He just looked like he wasn't playing with that speed and that tenacity that he can play with. I don't know what's making that happen and what's making him do that, but there's got to be a reason to it because we've seen him play that way. We've seen him play with speed. We've seen him play with a sick shot. He has a sick shot. It's deceptive. It's there, but he also plays hard to the net. We've seen it before. It's just getting him to do it all the time. I know that seems to be a problem with a lot of prospects, is they can do stuff like that. I know Jake Virtanen was a good example of that, where you saw his speed. Sometimes he had a sick move, sick shot, but he just never put it together. I hope Podkolzin's not that. I don't think he can be. I think he legitimately has a chance of being just a solid third liner for the Canucks for his career, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. We just really need him to put it together and come out with a good season, either a good season in the NHL or a really, really strong AHL season. I would be fine if he put up point per game. He doesn't even have to necessarily put up point per game, but just looked really dominant in the AHL. That would be fine. He needs to get his confidence back. I still have hope for him. I'm definitely not one of those people that are down and out like a lot of fans are. Next up, I'll briefly talk about Seelovs. Seelovs did look rough. There was a couple times where he definitely was left out to dry. It's 100% not all on him. He was for sure left out to dry on a lot of those goals, but he definitely didn't look great. Let's talk about the good here. I think Atu Ratu looked really good. His speed has increased a bit. He's still not the fastest guy. He reminds me probably like Brock Besser's speed, but his intelligence, like his IQ is there. He knows how to put himself in the right spot. And even though his speed maybe isn't there, his IQ helps with that, and he's always in the right spot at the right time. He's had some good plays, some good passes. He's good at controlling the puck and keeping the puck when it's on his stick, and defensively he's pretty good as well. I actually really liked his game last night. I thought he looked good. Obviously, Nils Höglander I think looked fantastic. It's funny because him and Podkolzin came from the same draft, but I think Höglander is just that step up right now, at least from what I've seen in that preseason game. He looked engaged. He was fast. He was creating some offensive chances. He was keeping the puck on his stick, making some good plays. He also laid a big hit. Unfortunately, it injured the Flames player. You never want to see that. That sucks. But that's the exact type of play style you want from Höglander, to go in hard and just play physical. Like, just because he's small doesn't mean he can't play hard, and he's a great example of that. I know Tocchet would love Höglander for sure, especially if he keeps playing like he did in that preseason. But last but not least, the other player that I saw that I was actually impressed with was definitely Hirose. I thought Hirose had a really solid game last night. I think McWard actually did pretty good too. I thought he definitely wasn't one of the worst defensemen. He looked serviceable out there in that game. There was a couple moments where maybe he was a little overwhelmed, but he was pretty solid. But Hirose actually had a really good game. I was very impressed with his game. Hopefully the next Canucks game we actually see some NHL players in there, and they're not just leaving these AHL guys out to dry like that, because that was definitely tough to watch. I felt really bad. It's unfortunate because the goal is to use these preseason games to see some good in these young guys, and I think all we saw was just a lot of bad, which is still a takeaway. You can still see who's definitely not ready, and I think that's what we saw last night. But thank you guys so much for watching, especially those of you guys who watched to the end of the video. I really appreciate it. Thank you guys, all the new subscribers that came in on my last video. I appreciate that. And of course, if you guys are new, it would mean a lot if you guys subscribed and liked the video if you enjoyed. I don't think I'm going to be doing daily recaps and talks like this. I want to do it at least once a week, and especially talk about big things that happen. If there's a big game, like a game happens, something big happens in the game, I'll talk about it. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Peace.